At this time of social distancing and cocoon and all of that, we have to look for alternative ways to do these things. By law, or by direction of the government, we're not supposed to go more than 2 kilometres from our home. But I suppose if we were to leave our home any day and travel 2 kilometres in the parish of Borrisoleigh, we'd see a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to point out a few of these things, tell a few little stories about it that we hope will entertain you. And you know, places of interest, stories of interest, all pertaining to Borrisoleigh. And we have a little presentation here, a number of slides that depict what we're doing. And Tracy is going to read a few little bits and pieces relative to what we're showing. Borrisoleigh, Glenkeen, we were Glenkeen before we were Borrisoleigh, and for a while we were Glenkeen in age. That was rectified, I think, by a Father Bowen that was here back in 1802. He made us an entity of ourselves again. And you can see the early photograph of Glenkeen and the gateway into it. You know, one of the most historic graveyards, not only in Tipperary, but in all of Ireland. To his profession, and I have there Burke versus Mahony. Now, what was Burke versus Mahony? A man called Martin Burke owned the Shelbourne Hotel. He sued Pierce Mahony for assault, and he sued Mahony. Mahony assaulted him outside College Green, and Burke took him to court. There was a number of things, 2 things involved in it. One was that Burke owned a place called Sea Pint House in Clontarf, and it was on the route, the proposed route that would take you from, that would take the new train from Dublin to Dunleary to Kingstown. And Mahony wanted Burke to make way for that, but Burke wasn't cooperative. But there was another side dispute going on as well, and that was that Mahony was a shareholder in the Bank of Ireland, and he was on the board of the Bank of Ireland. But Burke was a shareholder. Martin Burke was a shareholder, but his son James Milo Burke was an executive of the Agricultural and Commercial Bank, and Martin Burke wrote a number of letters to the papers, very critical of Mahony, and this was the genesis of the dispute. Now, what's all that about is this fellow here, Dr. Edward Kelly, who was an ornament to his profession. And you see the little inscription there, not the little inscription, erected by Miss Lizzie Kelly in the memory of her husband, Dr. Edward Kelly, late of Borrisoleigh, who departed this life on the 16th day of July 1837 in the 34 year of his age. Now, sincerely and deservedly regretted, he was an ornament to his profession, an affectionate husband, an attached friend, and blessed with all those amiable qualities that embellish society. His sorrow, widow and children will ever mourn his loss. Now, you know that like a better epitaph could you wish for? Now, the court case between Mahony and Burke took place on he died on the 16th of May, he died on the 16th of July 1837. The court case took place on the 24th of June, 3 weeks, 22 days earlier. And Kelly was not a medical witness. He was not the chief medical witness. He went and he testified to the Court of Common Pleas that he saw Martin Burke in good health one day, and then the next time he saw him was all marks and bruises. So, which begs the question, why did Dr. Kelly go from Borrisoleigh to testify on behalf of Martin Burke? And I'll tell you that in a minute. Who else is buried behind the rail, or amongst others, is a man called George Burke. And George Burke was a solicitor, a powerful orator, a friend of the Young Irelanders, Father John Kenyon, and all of those, and he was highly respected. And the day that he died, or they buried him in Keegan, the report of that is a very interesting read.
Death of George Burke, Esquire, Solicitor, Thurles. Our readers will sympathise with the bereaved widow and children of the above young, active and energetic gentleman when they hear of his premature unexpected death after only 2 days' illness of gastric fever at his residence, Liscahill, within a short distance of Thurles, at 10:30 on Sunday night, the 26th instant. There was no man in his profession more better known throughout the length and breadth of Tipperary than George Burke, and there are few in any rank who at all times took a more decided part in public business than he was accustomed to take. In the politics of his native county, even in his early years, he was always prominent, whilst with the general politics of the country, he was thoroughly identified with on all occasions. In private life, there were few more amiable, kindly disposed or highly esteemed by his numerous friends, while in the midst of his family he was beloved for his social and excellent qualities. He possessed a large share of ability, as well as in his profession, as in the details of public business in which he took part, and he was a ready speaker, a clear and clever writer, and in each of all the parts which duty called him to undertake, he was particularly adapted to become distinguished by those gifts, which naturally largely endowed him with. His death has caused widespread sorrow wherever he was known. In his neighbourhood, grief is intense, and we need not add to his family, his loss is irreparable. The mortal remains of the lamented deceased were conveyed for interment in the family vault in Glenkeen, Borrisoleigh, on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. They were accompanied by at least 30 clergymen, and the concourse of sympathising people was immense. All the shops in Thurles, Borrisoleigh and many in Tumpamore were closed, and the deepest regret prevailed through Ilee, the ancient district in which his ancestors had lived for many generations.
The history of the Shelbourne Hotel, it makes for an interesting study, and it's a change of ownership or management, whatever. The hotel, they engage historians and genealogists and researchers to document the life of the hotel since it began. Now, Martin Burke was the man who began the hotel. He bought the property for £3,000 at the time. That was in 1818, which was a huge sum of money, and the rent was £300 a year. There's no, we don't know how he made that money. But the researchers and all these people who studied it, they knew he was from Tipperary, but could never define where in Tipperary he was from. So, because of Dr. Kelly going to testify at that trial, John, I would have surmised Kelly's wife was 40 and her mother was born. So he was going to testify, I would have said in support of his kinsman, his family, a member of his extended family. Now, Martin Burke was involved in another famous, infamous trial as well, but the trial of Gavin Duffy. And Duffy was accused of treason, capital trial, and it was in the age of packed jury, and a conviction was inevitable. Now, they raised a petition in Dublin, for that a number of Catholics would be on the jury, and this was headed by Isaac Butt. He was the defence counsel for Gavin Duffy. Now, the authorities conceded eventually to grant him one Catholic businessman to be on the jury, and that's honour fell to Martin Burke, because they felt to be a middle class businessman, and whose side to be on. And Bush was about to object to the inclusion of Burke in the jury. So The night before the trial began, Gavin Duffy's wife, she went to Burke's wife, and she told Burke's wife that Isaac Burt was not to object to her husband being on the jury, and she said that, why, like, but she says, if your husband is convicted, she says, Martin need not bother returning home. They went to the court in Green Street, and they sat across from the witness stand. And when Martin Burke was given evidence, his wife and his daughter were looking at him, so he had no chance. But he gave a number of statements about it. And these appeared in debates in the House of Commons, and he made himself quite unpopular for a while. He did, but only for him, Gavin Duffy would have been convicted. The trial petered out eventually. The people lost appetite for it, and things moved on. How do we know it from Borrisoleigh? A man called Patrick Burke Ryan. He wrote a letter to Daniel O'Connell. The Protection of Life Act was going before the House of Commons, and that was to despair ordinary people from carrying weapons. And O'Connell was adamant in his objection to this. And Patrick Ryan wrote to him, and he said, I supported you in every way, I can't support you on this one. He said, my two brothers were murdered. He said in Borrisoleigh, Milo Burke in Springfield in 1828, and in 1836, his brother Andrew Burke was murdered in Coolin. And Ryan then said in his letter, he said, my other uncle, he said, Martin Burke of Shelburne was afraid to come down, he said, to collect his rent, and he sold the property. So that firmly puts Martin Burke as an heir to the Borrisoleigh. So it was a Borrisoleigh man found in Shelburne Hotel in Dublin. The ploughing match, I'm pleased to take a position there. So, I suppose the ploughing match is an annual pilgrimage, I suppose, for farmers and non-farmers. And it looks like this year we're not going to have one. But back in 1945, we had one in Borrisoleigh, and apparently by the reading of the report, it was common enough for horns, it was.
County Tipperary Ploughing Championship at Borrisoleigh, Wednesday, January the 17th. The roads that day will be a sight to see, with the crowds advancing so gallantly, from Knockshigarney to Boherbue, blazing the trail to Borrisoleigh. Our little town has again been selected for the County Ploughing Championship in the beautiful Vale of Liss, kindly given by Mrs. E. Cook, Fort William House. We heartily welcome the cream of Tipperary's stalwart ploughmen to compete for the honour of the county in one of the noblest professions of man. It is our Patron Day in Borris, a special holiday between the Christmas and St. Patrick's Day. A real old Irish kindliness will be extended to all our visitors. On a spring morning with the lilt of the thrush in the grove, you can't escape noticing the glad eye of the Shrove. The very best of refreshments and full catering in town and on the field. Class 1. Championship class open to North Tipperary. Prizes. First prize £5. Second £3. Third £2. Best open and best furrow 10 shillings. Entrance fee 5 shillings. Class 2. Open to all those in North Tipperary who never won first or second prize at any ploughing match. Prizes. First £3. Second £2. Third £1. Best open and best furrow 10 shillings. Entrance fee 2 shillings 6 pence.
Thanks, Tracy. Alice Morrison. Who was Alice Morrison? Her headstone is in St. Bridget's Cemetery, and it tells her story really. For so many years, the faithful housekeeper to Father Ryan, Canon Ryan, that was here up to that died in 1928, 27, 28. Now, Alice Morrison was from the Cashel area, somewhere around Cashel. And when Canon Ryan died, Father Quillen came in his place, which effectively made Alice Morrissey homeless. And Mrs. Cook of Liss took her in, just out of charity, and she gave her a room in the house. And Alice Morrissey lived there in that room, and until the day she died. In her time in Borrisoleigh, she made a number of friends, and people would call up to visit her occasionally. And one of those was Tim Costello at the post office. And Tim would call up and have a chat and whatever like it. And one day Tim Costello went up and he visited Alice Morrissey. And when he came away, he met Mrs. Cook, and he said, Miss Morrissey wants to speak with you. Now, what Alice Morrissey wanted to do, she had £400 that she wanted to lodge in the Munster and Leinster Bank in Templemore, and she wanted Mrs. Cook to put her name on the deposit note. And Mrs. Cook consented to do that, provided that Alice Morrissey made a will. It just showed the stature of the woman Mrs. Cook was. There was no, everything had to be above board. The will was made, written out in plain paper. Jim Kent and William Kent were taken as witnesses. They didn't actually witness the will, they witnessed the signatures that were signed to it, and the will was put away. Alice Morrissey died in 1933, and she left her money to St. Patrick's College in Thurles. And out of the blue, a number of cousins turned up out of the woodwork to claim their share of the money. And like all these things at that time, or any time I suppose, when money's at stake, it ended up in court. And a number of witnesses were called for each side, and Mrs. Cook was called on behalf of the estate of Alice Morrissey. And the solicitor said to Mrs. Cook, he said, it's very unusual, he said, that a will will be drawn up in that form. He says, it's mostly done in the solicitor's office. And she said, I know that, she said, and I wanted Alice Morrissey to do that, but she wouldn't do it. She said to me, why do you give them gamers a pound when you can do it ourselves for nothing? When you went to Borrisoleigh on the church on the right hand side, up the main aisle, the middle window, was the money for that was donated by Alice Morrissey, a lovely stained glass window. Another stained glass window, two stained glass windows in the gallery in Borrisoleigh, donated by Brendan Bracken, a self-professed atheist. We can see there J.K. Bracken, to the father and mother, two lovely windows. Certainly didn't come cheap in their time. Brendan Bracken was Churchill's Minister for Information during the course of the Second World War. The founder of the Financial Times, a high-powered man, well known in publishing. He kind of gets a bad press in Ireland, but he was very kind to his family, to his extended family, and he was an air of decency about him, so often maybe content wasn't certainly in his father, in his dealings with people. And little idea of Glen Keegan on the gable of the chapel, in memory of Brendan Bracken's mother. The Ryan family laughing. When Hannah Bracken, when she became widow, she later married her cousin, Patrick Laffin from Castlemaine, and they lived in Moore Park in County Meath. Cullohill Castle, the seat of the Wires. When you're coming into Borrisoleigh from the Leader side, it really strikes you up to the hill there, Some pretty gruesome stories about it, back from the Wire time. But if you come on a little bit later in history, and to 1850, something happened there that was certainly pretty gruesome for our, for certainly by today's standards anyway.
Friday last, the romantic locality of Cullihill, near Borrisoleigh, was a theatre of the most soul-harrowing scene. This property has lately come into the possession of Mr. John Parker of Ballycolleton near Nina, and wishing to get rid of small holdings and amalgamate farms, he issued a haberer, and to carry out his intentions was on this day accompanied by his brother and his law agent, Mr. Daxon of Nina. At 8:30 they appeared on the land with a gang of about 20 of the notorious levellers of Nina. At 9 o'clock, the worthy sub-inspector, Mr. Malone, with about 40 of his police from the different stations, was on the spot, and shortly afterwards the sub-sheriff, Mr. Going, on his way to open the commission in Nina with his deputy, Mr. Gayson, and his chief clerk, Mr. Burrows, also arrived. It was truly an awful sight. The poor rate collector with his seal of office, along with the county cess collector and his staff, filled up the awful cavalcade. The place of rendezvous was Cullihill Cross, near Mr. Burke's residence. Mr. Jackson, the law agent, with Mr. Burrows, the chief clerk, and the Crowbar Brigade, with half the police, filed to the southern district of the ancient castle and levelled 11 houses and turned the poor inmates out upon the highway. The Messrs. Parker and Mr. Carson and a party of police under the sub-inspector took the northern district, directing their route towards a rick of turf in hopes of discovering a nest of arms, but without success. And melancholy to behold, in a few hours 470 human beings were disposed from the town's land of Cullihill, Corricale, Carrageen, Corralee and the bog at Mount Canaan. Out of these 470, 299 were readmitted as caretakers. The remaining 241 were left out under the clemency of the weather.
That's the reason. When we see that in 1850, the second bog was 1850, just I suppose at the end of the horrific famine, you can maybe understand then how the feeder movement in 1867, how that gained traction. In all of this, Daniel O'Connell, during his campaign for Catholic emancipation, again in 1829, he was pretty successful in that. He was, even though it did create a Catholic elite in its own way, because I spoke earlier about the 40 shilling freeholders. Catholic emancipation was granted at a huge cost, in that now, instead of having 40 shillings of valuation, you had to have £10 of valuation to have a vote. So a huge raft of people disenfranchised because of that. And after that, O'Connell reinvented himself as to repeal the Act of Union. And likes of George Burke that I spoke about, and Father John Kenyon, because of the famine, they argued vehemently that the peaceful methods were of no use anymore, and I suppose not without reason when you see that. In 1902 was a huge land agitation to break up the remnants of the state in Barnett, the Carroll estate. John J. Hassett, afterward John J. Hassett spoke about it, and he said it's very easy to understand the nature of the fight for land and everything it took place. Because he said from 1850 to 1898, the 30,000 people have been evicted, and their house is levelled. So, you know, these things don't happen in isolation, you know. So you can imagine that report that Teresa read from the Tipperary Vindicator, the Freeman Journal gave a much more damning indictment altogether of all that were involved, you know, and gave you know, a potential description of you know, what it said about such an intake for Thurles Workhouse, 500 in one go. The doctor and the dispensary. The dispensary back in 1895, when the time that these pertain to, that was in Palace Street, and it could be where the offices of the spring water facility is there now, or a little bit above it, the lane going in there. I remember when I was young that they said the dam used to sell milk out of it. Funny enough, you know, the problems, you know, big talk now about obesity. Back then when we were supposed to know obesity, they still had you know, they had enough of a problem to write about it, they had, and to circulate doctors about it, and you know, to give suggestions how to deal with it. I'd imagine much of the farm and the farm labour, or whatever, like, I don't think they ever had much of a problem with obesity. But amazing, this was on before the day of Weight Watchers and the gym and the track attack and all of that. In the middle there, you know, it's wanted to become a doctor. But how difficult was it? And it kind of says there, like, the bar wasn't that high, you know. You know, if you had moderate enough results, like in an exam, to be well, called the intermediate certificate. Now, I kind of saw a bit too, but then further into the book, some of the questions that he asked, like, to be difficult enough too, they would, you know. And for N, the nurses, this was up to the early 50s, this system was still in place. Like, if we want to go to the doctor now and phone up Catherine, and we say, well, Dr. Delar, we see me at such a time, and we just go with her. Or when Dr. Power was there, we just went, and we sat down and we waited. But at that time it wasn't that easy, it wasn't. You had to get a ticket to go to the doctor. And here's a list of people that had the privilege of giving you that ticket.
George E. Ryan, Inch. House W.P. Hanley, Lanes Park. John D. Cook, Brownstown. Captain Armstrong, Myalef. Clement Green, Green Park. George R. Cook, Fort William. Richard G. Carden, Fishmine. Lawrence Ryan, Finneha. John McCormack, Granera. Thomas McCormack, Granera. Thomas Ryan, Ilee. Michael Kelly, Drumgill. John Ryan, Glenbreda. Rhodey Hogan, Fantan. Patrick Finn, Castle Porter. James Kennedy, Couga. John Burke, Ross Cottage. Edmund Canaan, Gurtnahala. Dennis Stapleton, Palace. Philip Burke, Palace. LH Ryan, Lismakeeve.
I suppose, you know, when we think of that list of names, I think of the whole system, you know, it was grossly unfair, you know, in that, you know, needed stories of survival in handlers, but, you know, when people got this ticket, you know, that's the time to got something compliment, and certainly people felt obligated, and, you know, thank God we moved on from that. Like, we have a man buried in Glenkeener with a lot of thank for the change in those times. That's Seamus Burke Rock Forest. But no, he wasn't the man who changed that system. I think it was Noel Brown. It was the man who did away with that. But Burke Rock Forest was the man who finished the workhouse system, the pool law union. You know, something that's forgotten about it. You know, a great initiative, you know, on behalf of, you know, underprivileged people. Move on. No, so still on health matters and all the like, you know. Today now, when we go to Dr. Blair, is waiting room, you know, and the best of comfort, you know, with pipe music and a notice board and magazines to look at. It was a little bit different back in 1922.
Thurles Rural Council, sewage scheme for Borrisoleigh. Several communications were read from Dáil Éireann Local Government of Department at Thurles Guardians on Tuesday, sanctioning payment to doctors for doing temporary duty, etc., and were of little public interest. Bridget Maher's appointment as temporary nurse of the Fever Hospital was approved. On a report of Dr. Joan in reference to the waiting room at Borrisoleigh Dispensary, in which there was no fire during the winter months. They wrote for particulars, and the clerk explained that the coal was sent there on occasions, but irregularly, and 2 or 3 years ago they had stopped to supply coal to any dispensary. Mr. Morrissey thought if they supplied one dispensary they would have applications from all other dispensaries. The clerk said, "We have no means either of checking the coal sent to those dispensaries. They might take it and burn it in their own homes." To a member, the clerk said the owner of the dispensary at Borrisoleigh was Michael Dermody. He was getting £5 a year rent, and Mrs. Dermody £5 as a caretaker. The chairman said he only knew a few dispensaries where there was waiting rooms. The kitchen of the caretakers were used as such. The clerk said Mr. Dermody applied some time ago for £3 or £4 for repairs, and it was held up that he should keep the place in order. Up to then he was to keep the place aired and lighted, fires, etc. The Guardians thought a fire necessary and granted half a ton of coal. At the Rural Council, Mr. T. Ryan presided. Dáil Éireann wrote in reference to unable nuisances and the sanitary arrangements of common lodging houses in Borrisoleigh, asking for particulars. The clerk said there was no common lodging houses in Borrisoleigh district, and those that traded as such did not come up to their requirements. It was decided to get the IRP to look after those houses. With regard to the sewage system in Borrisoleigh, from time to time, the clerk stated, for the last 20 years, he never met a minute that there was not some complaint made about the sewage system in Borrisoleigh. And when he came to the point of preparing a scheme, and when everything was ready for it, the doctor objected after talking and writing about it for years. The discharge comes out within a couple of 100 yards of his home, and it is likely to be offensive. It is a thing that must be done sometime. Whether it would be wise now to do it when labour and materials have increased, he did not know.